Hello, this is Don Carter. I'm back yet again for my third try this evening on learning something new, learning the software for these live webinars. I was going to try and put up the chat today and see if I could work that into the webinar, but I still have some difficulties in getting my mic and everything to cooperate so that we get it all working right. So probably apropos for tonight, I thought I would do just a brief presentation just to get used to the software and to highlight a little bit about what I've been going through as I learn this process. So tonight I want to talk about the stages that we go through in learning something new. There are 4 stages for learning something new, and we're creatures of habit. So in order to learn something new, we need to burn it into our neural circuitry, if you will. We have neural networks. I want to show you a neural network just real quickly, and maybe you could try this exercise too, just to kind of get an idea of what it's like to create a new neural network, because almost everything we do is encoded on its own. Well, everything we do on a habitual basis or routine basis is part of our neural circuitry. And it's got its own coding and its own location, its own neurons that fire off. And the law of neuroplasticity, Hebe's law, has 2 parts. It says neurons that fire together wire together. The more they fire, the stronger those connections get. The other law is use it or lose it. If you don't fire those neurons, or they don't fire frequently enough, they get weaker. So just to kind of give you an idea on what it's like to create a new neural network, I'd like you to put your fists together, just kind of separate from one another, and point your index finger and smaller finger out, then pull them back, then do the opposite and pull those back, and then the opposite and pull those back, and then the opposite, and just until you really get it. Oh, there I go, I messed up, because I'm talking and trying to learn a new behavior. So again, one finger out and the little finger out, pull it back, the other finger and out, pull it back. So there's 4 steps involved in this. The first thing is step 1 is to get the 2 fists up here like this. Second step is to put the fingers out there and pull them back. That's the 3rd step. The 4th step is to put the other fingers out there. All right, so let me try that again. Step 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you do that often enough, you'll create the neural circuitry involved in being able to do it without thinking eventually, because you go through the 4 stages of learning something new. So I've been doing that with these webinars, and I want to thank you guys for your patience. For those who are just starting out with me, got a few people watching this video, and hopefully this will be a worthwhile 15 minutes or so. Okay, so to start with, let's say I want to learn to bowl. My name is Don Carter, and for those of you old enough to remember, people my age as a matter of fact, back in the day, Don Carter was the best bowler in the world, so maybe I should learn something about bowling. So, okay, one Saturday I decide I'm going to go down to the bowling alley, and I'm going to learn to bowl. Looks like fun. And so I go down there and I throw my first ball, gutter ball, then another and another and another. Suddenly I realize I suck at bowling. I'm no Don Carter. Not in this case. And so what I've learned was, the first thing was that I become unconscious, or I become aware that I was unconscious of my incompetence. Then I become acutely aware of being conscious of my incompetence. I realize I suck at bowling. So without even trying, I didn't have any idea how bad I would be until I started trying. And then when I was throwing those gutter balls, I realized also that other people were watching me suck at bowling. So you would want to quit right about then. And that's what a lot of people do. We quit in this conscious incompetence stage. That's only stage 2. If I really want to learn to bowl, then I'll stick with it. And I'll keep throwing that ball, and I'll keep experimenting, and I'll keep trying to get those fingers to work right. And as I do, I'll start hitting some pins, and that's kind of intense. So intensity and repetition help burn those circuits into place. And the intensity of hitting a pin or two for the first time feels pretty good. So I try to do the same thing I did before. And as I do, then I hit more pins, and maybe I get a spare, and then I get some strikes. And if I keep pushing, I keep practicing, then eventually I'll get my own shoes, my own uniform. I'll join a league. I'll have my own little dance up to the line. I'll put English on the ball and make it do magic tricks and get a strike almost every time, if not every time, once in a while. That's because I have become one with the bowling ball. So the third stage is I become conscious that I have a newfound competence, and as I push through there, I have unconscious competence. Now I don't even have to think about it. Now I have English on the ball. Now I can do all these wonderful things because I've become one with the bowling ball. Another example of that would be driving from point A to B. You may remember learning to drive, and especially with that teacher sitting right next to you who's usually a parent, and they're pretty nervous about you driving for the first time. At least mine were. And so it's nerve-wracking, remembering all the little details about driving a car, and you have to remember everything, and it's so nerve-wracking that eventually, though, we become more able to do it, and it becomes second nature. In other words, we become consciously competent and then eventually unconscious of our competence to the point that we can drive from point A to B and not even remember the trip or be worried about what we forgot to bring with us or what we're going to do when we get there, or probably maybe even having a conversation or two on the way there with whoever's riding along. That's because we've become one with the vehicle, and driving a car becomes automatic. Another great example of that is if you've seen that paragraph that goes around on Facebook every once in a while of all those jumbled words that have the letters all out of place except for the first and the last letter. And everyone seems able to read that fluently, even though all the words are jumbled up. And so the paragraph states something about Cambridge University did a study that indicated that we don't have to read every letter in a word to be able to recognize that word. We just need the first and last letter and the shape and the area that it's in, or the place that it's in the paragraph, and the unconscious mind will do the rest. That's because we've developed an incredibly sophisticated neural circuit for the alphabet. Now, you might remember learning to write your name in kindergarten or first grade. How laborious it was to learn what a capital letter was compared to a lowercase letter, and then how to write those letters and those shapes on the page, especially when they have some like a D and a B that are very similar but reversed. So there was a lot to learn, and writing our name was the first conscious effort that we put forth in developing that database of the alphabet. But everything we learned since then involved reading and writing. Reading and or writing, one of the two. And so we use the alphabet over and over and over again to the point that intensity and repetition grew a sophisticated motherboard of neural circuitry for the alphabet, which is convenient because now we can read a book without having to learn the alphabet all over again. That would be a little tedious. So that's how we learn anything: how to tie our shoe, how to do our job, how to be in a relationship. We get templates from people that we watch growing up, and all those get encoded on their own neural circuitry. Okay, so I share all that for you to understand that it's easier to quit something and harder to push through, but since I teach this, I like to practice what I preach, and this is a good reminder for me, and it keeps me going. And so I wanted to come back on tonight and just make sure I could get this one in the books so that we could not only have a successful outcome, a better one than some of the others that I've tried, and something for you to see that might be helpful. And I hope this was helpful for you. So again, thanks.